Well, I knew we'd eventually get to this point. I now have no idea what number this is in the series.
13, I think.
Is it?
Because it's the 13th.
I do know
So
it's
that's my
Monday.
guess.
And apologies before we go any further about the ongoing work over Andy's balcony. As far as the weather is concerned, it's raining. Qatar is crying. And it's a most unusual event when that is the case. But we might get lucky and see a thunderstorm. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
For those who may have just joined us, this is the latest in the series Keys and Grey Unplugged from Andy's balcony, where we continue to socially distance with a discipline that in no way compromises Qatari regulations regarding COVID-19. At the time of going to press, all these stories are up-to-date and accurate. During the course of the day, before this programme airs,
I like
things
this
may
part,
change.
you know. Do you know why I like this bit?
Why?
Because you read all the papers, don't you?
Yes.
And I don't.
No,
So I'm getting surprised here. That's why I quite like this. You are my sports news, by the way, everyone.
Jurgen Klopp has said in conversation that the coronavirus outbreak in Madrid affected him and Liverpool mentally ahead of the Champions League exit. Now, why I found this interesting, Andy, is not so much because of that particular incident, but going forward, I have to say, I think, were there concerns from players, and I believe there will be, about trying to restart, maybe prematurely, then those same problems will still exist.
Yeah, they might. Yeah. I don't think they'll start prematurely, Richard. I really don't.
Football clubs, Premier League football clubs in England, concerned that the charity donations from the footballers will stop them taking pay cuts. It probably will, but why not?
No, but listen, as I said to you last week, the players were criticised for not helping the NHS and furloughed workers or whatever it was, and they did. They did something about it. Now they're being asked to save their clubs. Where's it stop?
Well, save their clubs, they might have to. We'll come
that's
round
what I'm
to
saying.
that.
That's what I'm saying.
Gianni Infantino at the weekend talking to the world of football. Life matters, he says. Football doesn't. We can't spring back into action all too quickly. From the Daily Mirror, clubs plan to offload players to pay wages. Now, these are the players whose contracts are ending on June the 30th that are deemed to be surplus to requirements.
Yeah.
There are others, and the best example I can give you is the one we've been using, Willian at Chelsea, whose contract will end on the 30th of June. Matty Longstaff, who apparently has an offer from a Serie A club.
Okay.
There are others who will want to leave football clubs of their own volition because they've got better offers to play elsewhere. And under those circumstances, I repeat what I've said so many times, if I'm a footballer leaving a club to join another and that deal's done, I am not playing for the club I'm currently contracted to for an extra 4 or 6 weeks or any other length of time.
You see, but would you be one of those players that wouldn't contribute to NHS as well then?
Of course not.
Well, that's
but
what
I've got to think about myself. I've got to think about my family.
But these are extraordinary situations, yes. And you also have to think about the club who you've been with
no,
for
I haven't,
10
Andy.
years.
I've got to think about myself because
Yes,
during
you
that
can
4
think
or
about
6
yourself.
week period, I could pick up an ACL, which is a career-threatening injury. What then? Who pays for the insurance,
Richard,
for the
you
rehab,
could go to your new
for
club
the fitness?
and pick up your ACL.
Of course, but I'm on a new deal for 3 years.
You're not going to be left and exposed like that
Well,
by
you
a
are.
club. No, you're not.
Well, you've got a 4 or 6 week deal that is running down. You want me to go out and play, putting at risk my future, my family's future, for whom? The football club I'm leaving that hasn't offered me the terms I wanted.
See, I go back to
sorry.
the one that really would be a massive blow for a club I played for, Aston Villa. If suddenly Jack Grealish goes, I'm off. On the 30th
But he's
of June,
still got
hold
two
on.
years. Has he not got 2 years?
No,
He's contracted,
but
isn't he?
I'm off. I'm off.
Well, he
I'm not
can't
playing.
because he's contracted.
Nah, he can go. And what if somebody offers 70 million? They're not going to say
Well,
no.
that's then Villa's prerogative to say yes or no. But if my contract is ending, I am not continuing to play for the football club that has not offered me the terms that I wanted, which brought about the decision.
I think if I'm
leave.
Willian and I've been at Chelsea for 10 years, I guess he's been there, isn't he? Nearly.
Yeah.
I've been there for 10 years. I might give them another 4 weeks.
No chance.
Well, I would.
I just don't see the sense of that.
I would.
Premier League set to introduce 3 new rules for next season, including changes to the use of VAR. That is, that referees, no, surprise, surprise. Referees are going to be encouraged, which is another way of saying told, to go and check pitch side monitors for matters of opinion.
Yes.
We knew that. I'm going to keep the second of the changes just for a moment, because I have to say I'm slightly confused by it.
Oh dear.
The third and final change is regards to goalkeepers coming off the line when a penalty is taken. From next season, a keeper encroaching will result in the retaking of a penalty only if the initial kick is saved. Well, that makes sense.
No, if he comes off his line and you screw it past the post, what happens? You see, because I'll tell you why.
Therefore,
Richard,
penalties which miss the target completely will not be retaken, even if the keeper comes off his line.
Well, you see, here's the little thing for me. Having taken a few penalties, not a lot.
A few, 3.
4, I think it was. But what I'm saying about people who take penalties regularly is, what I'm saying, when they go up to the football and they've picked their corner, and I think John Terry might have been one in the Champions League final, and you get a glimpse of the goalkeeper going early, right?
Get off.
No, I'm serious.
Get
And you
off.
try and hit it in the corner, and
Sorry.
you just try and put a little bit more on it,
It's
and you
a
miss it.
free shot.
So you've missed it because he's come off his line.
It's a free shot from 12 yards.
So
Matt Letizia, 49 out of 50.
he's
Never
an
bothered him.
exception.
Do what
He's
you
an
like.
exception. No, that's nonsense.
Encroachment into the box from players, meanwhile, will result in the penalty being retaken regardless of the outcome of the spot kick. So if you go in the box and it's missed, retake.
What?
Yeah, yeah,
So if you get in the box and it's scored.
not a retake.
So if the defenders go in the box, it's missed, they retake it. Even if the defender's not
You're
touched
making
the
this
ball.
difficult, aren't you?
I'm not. I'm just, as usual, there we go.
The second of the
Clear as
3
mud.
rule changes regards handballs inside the penalty area, and IFAB have issued a clarification on controversial accidental handball decisions. Now, please work this out for me. It has been decided that penalties should only be given if the accidental handball immediately results in a goal. Well, why would you give the penalty if it's resulted in a goal? i.e., following the handball, the ball travels only a short distance and/or there are very few passes. I think that's a recipe for continued confusion.
You'll have to run that past me. I'll get back to you in about a week's time when I've worked that out.
Interesting development out of Germany. Manchester United are confident that they will not be left with a £75 million hole in their finances after kit manufacturers Adidas hit financial trouble.
Okay. There'll be a few like that, I would guess.
From the back page of the Sunday Mirror, exactly what we've been saying for a time. Players have been told by clubs, don't flaunt your wealth on social media. Now here's one that we're going to come back to in just a moment. This is a glimpse, for me it's a glimpse into the future of how the Premier League's problems may unfold going forward. Rangers, your football club, want the SPFL boss, Neil Doncaster, to be suspended and an inquiry started after a somewhat complicated vote to either continue, and our guest today will explain it for us better, but bottom line is, I think Rangers and Hearts in the Premier League have complained about the suggestion that the league should finish now, therefore seeing Hearts relegated, Celtic win the title with Rangers complaining, no, we'd catch them. We're only 13 points behind. No, you wouldn't. Come on.
Oh, well, how do you know?
What, be realistic.
Oh, you don't know?
Yeah, you do.
I'm sorry, we don't know.
13 points.
By the way, we're debating in England with Liverpool 25 points ahead whether they should get the title.
We are.
Well, exactly.
This is why.
So there you go. So you're telling me Rangers are, forget Rangers, but...
As you well know, after all this time of working with me,
Yep.
it's not my job to pass opinions.
Oh.
It's my job. It's
Yeah.
my job to
Really?
ask you
Oh, yeah.
what yours. Arsenal, of all the football clubs, Arsenal are the one teetering on the brink. More problems than any. This pay crisis, Andy, is going. I think going to. They'll be the one.
What?
Before anybody else. Deep financial trouble.
Well, they'll get billionaire owners.
Deep financial trouble. Carlo Ancelotti's been talking about what he's been doing, walking on the beach in Formby apparently and cooking pasta.
Very nice there, by the way.
Yeah.
I used to live there, yeah. Lovely.
Harry Kane, we're told, after he spoke last week and said he wouldn't just stay at Tottenham for the sake of it, open to a move to Old Trafford, according to the Mail. And of course, we should also mark the fact that we lost Peter Bonetti this weekend, the cat.
Sad.
Terrific footballer and man.
Yes, he was.
Safe standing at Old Trafford moved a step closer. Manchester United officials filed all the necessary paperwork for the installation of rail seating to Trafford Council and hope for a reply shortly. Everything should be in place for the start of the new season, whenever that is.
Can I ask how you would know more about this? And how are the Spirit of Shankly and people like that?
Andy, I think it's a
how
debate.
did he feel about it?
I think there are some who were deeply affected by Hillsborough,
Yeah.
lost relatives,
Yeah.
who will never be of the
Okay.
opinion standing is safe. But I think, I could be entirely wrong here, but I think the bigger opinion is that you can make standing safe
Right.
now, and that probably will be the overriding view of the
Okay.
majority going forward. But I could be very wrong
Well, it's
about
one to
that.
keep an eye on, that's for sure.
Developments today from the Mail: police may probe the Scottish vote that I was talking about. We'll get round to it, I promise you. Steve Bruce eyeing up McGinn again if Villa go down. He wants McGinn.
Well, he can keep eyeing.
And here from the back page of the Mirror today, Gunners pay cut bust up, Stars to snub plan for a 12.5% cut for 12 months. What Arsenal are suggesting is, we'll give you the money back if you qualify for the Champions League. What the players are saying is, hold on, really? No, I don't think so. There's not much chance of that. And the Times reporting the opposite opinion to the Mail on Harry Kane, saying he's not sure and Spurs don't want to sell anyway. Esports this week, keep your eye on esports. A lot of the players now are keeping busy challenging each other to gaming, and it's something we've told about often. Okay, so when you've been a naughty boy and the Daily Record had reported your
What?
occasional, I'm talking on field.
Oh, right, okay, thank you.
On
I'm
field.
glad we cleared
Your
that up.
occasional red miss rolled and
Yes.
your occasional red card, off you
Yes.
go. What would your mother say to you when the Daily Record reported the incident
Yes.
and you said, no, that didn't happen?
I say, Mum, that didn't happen. She'd say, yes, it did, and it must be true because it's in the Daily Record. Oh, bless my mum. God bless her. I'm sorry, Mum.
So,
If you're listening, Mum, somewhere, that wasn't always the case.
So, our guest today is Keith Jackson, football writer at the Daily Record, the first man to talk to us, Andy, many years ago, and suggest that Rangers were going bankrupt. At that time, you were aghast. I don't think England understood the enormity of the story that was unfolding.
Yeah.
But I see in that shades of the problems that we've got now in what's been happening in Scotland. And as I said, I think it could very well be a glimpse into the future of what will happen in the Premier League going forward. Keith Jackson, can you hear us, Keith?
Hi, Keith.
Yes, yeah, good morning, guys.
Keith, thanks for joining us, first of all. I've scrambled to come up with my version of events this weekend in Scotland from what I understand to be the case, but can you clarify it for us?
Well, how long have we got, guys? Well, basically, on Friday, the SPFL put forward a bunch of proposals. They put it forward on Wednesday, and they asked the clubs to vote for it by 5 p.m. on Friday. And those proposals basically brought an end to the current season in the Championship and League One and League Two immediately. And they kicked the Premier League season, or Premiership season, into the long grass for a month. The reason being that they believe by the end of this month, UEFA will probably put out an edict which says that it's okay now. We accept that this season cannot finish. UEFA are terrified, as are the English Premier League, the Spanish League, French, Italians, Germans, terrified at the numbers involved in cancelling this season, because my understanding is that the Premier League have already calculated it will be £1 billion bill for cancellation, and I don't need to tell you, the financial ramifications for the clubs there. In Scotland, we're a little bit more realistic because we're not exposed to that sort of number. Our television deal is is substantially south of anything that the English have or the big leagues, so we can just about manage it. But it is financial catastrophe for the Big Five and for UEFA. I mean, when you consider, Richard, that the contract with BT to televise the Champions League and Europa League seasons, I think it's £400 million per season. So you extrapolate that across Europe, the other 55 countries all get similar deals. You then go into Asia, America, Australia. The bill is absolutely frightening, and I think there's been a reluctance to accept the reality from the big leagues and from UEFA because of the numbers involved. In Scotland, we think this is a hole in the road. It's bad, and clubs are in danger. But for everybody else, or for the bigger leagues, it's an absolute car crash.
Keith, can I just be specific on something you said there? A month from now, you said UEFA will say it's okay, season's over. Are you specifically talking about Scotland or Europe?
I think that UEFA are moving towards a position where they now are accepting that there's just no chance of this season starting. In Britain, the advice, or the medical advice, is suggesting that there's just going to be no football this side of August, and that's probably an optimistic version of the events. It's now looking like if you can start in August, you're lucky. It might be September. So how do you, at that point, finish this season and get next season going, bearing in mind that UEFA bookmarked it by saying that the European Championships will start next summer? So you've got no kind of runway at the end of this season to extend. So yeah, we're all facing really, difficult choices, and I think that the considered or smart version of events would be to say, look, this season it has got coronavirus, so we just need to snuff it out, forget about it, and try and find a way of playing next season.
Keith, the argument in Scotland then is what? Is it that if we accept that the season is ending, it's not going to finish? Is the argument, what do you do then with the champions? What do you do with relegation? Is that the argument at the moment? You can't come to an agreement?
I think so, Andy, and I think it's a bad argument to have. I think football needs to wind its neck in a little bit here and realise that this is a real life crisis. We've got, yesterday the figure said that we've got 10,000 deaths in the UK, and I find it really difficult to be having an argument about what we do with a football season in circumstances like this. Everybody's having to dig in, everybody's having to self-isolate or stay at home, and for football to be having this squabble, I think is a really bad look. And I think that there's a real importance here. Listen, football is important. It is really important to everybody's life in normal times. And when this is all over, it will become really important again. But at this moment in time, it's really not. So we're having a squabble about, do we call Celtic champions? Obviously, Celtic are going for a 9th successive title, and everybody knows the historic sort of significance of 9 in a row, 10 in a row, which Celtic will be going for next season. But it's just at this moment in time, I find it really difficult for football to look itself in the mirror when we're having squabbles like this at a time when it's really not that important.
Keith, bearing in your mind your track record for us, and you called it at Rangers, absolutely spot on all those years ago. How many now? 10?
Oh, easy.
Maybe. Look into your crystal ball. What do you think ultimately the consequences for football in general, specifically the Premier League, will be post-coronavirus?
That's impossible, Richard. I think there is a serious problem. The Premier League has calculated that if they cancel this season and call it, it will cost them £1 billion. And I think it's something like 750 million in TV money, and then another 250 in terms of sponsorship and advertising. That's a big bill. That's a big number. The information that I have is that there have been discussions where this is kind of nightmare scenario, but there have been discussions leading to a conclusion that professional football in England is going to find it really difficult to survive. The Championship is on fire right now with this coronavirus because they have the exorbitant wage bills, and guys that were maybe a £20 million asset on the books 4 weeks ago are now just pure liabilities with enormous wages. I think the Championship's got a real problem, and my information was a significant number of the Championship clubs do not have the money to cover April's wage bill. So at that point, Richard, you're looking at clubs going into administration and going down the Rangers path. The Premiership, the Premier League, the clubs have got a little bit more robust finances there. They've got a little bit in reserve, but nobody can continue to go on like this for an undefined number of weeks or months. Celtic are sitting in a situation up here where they've got £30 million in the bank, but they're running a £60 million wage bill.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell you that's 6 months. And once you've got beyond 6 months, where are you? You're in serious trouble, which is why Celtic have had to make, they've furloughed staff, they've got the players to take a wage cut. This is really serious stuff. It could be the greatest leveller of all time in terms of, where European football is when we come out the back end of it.
Keith, we are very grateful to you, not so much maybe for the information, but for the fact
you really cheered me up on a Monday morning, Keith.
It's a bit of deja vu. It's exactly what you said when he told us Rangers were going out of business.
I know.
Extraordinary.
I know.
Keith, we do thank you again for your time.
Thanks, Keith.
No problem, guys.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
It is a little glimpse into the future. And by the way, one story I saved that I hadn't mentioned to you was the intent or the suggestion from one Premier League chairman, which I think was reported in the Times this weekend, that the English Premier League are going to try and finish the season at Wembley for televised audiences, 4 matches a day until they get it done. Now, look, I wish, like everybody else, I want my football back. I want it back sooner rather than later, but only when it's safe. But I just cannot see how you can stage 4 matches at Wembley a day to televised audiences. Where do the players stay? They'll need testing every day for coronavirus. Safe today doesn't mean you are tomorrow. Do we lock them in hotels? How do we get to and from games? What about drivers, medical staff? 4 games a day.
Listen,
2 games a weekend, Andy, causes a furore.
No, I know that, but listen, everyone's going to come up with some fancy ideas in the next 4 to 6 weeks. That's an absolute certainty about how we can get
this
the
one is
season
just
kicked off again. But what I'm saying is, nobody's going to go into Wembley and play 4 games a day in the situation we're in now. The country would have to be in a very different place to where it is now, right? To be able to confidently, even behind closed doors, be able to service 4 games of football at Wembley. I don't think it'll happen, Richard. I think it's one of the more...
4 sets of officials.
I think it's one of the more ridiculous ideas.
So why?
If I'm honest, when you think about Newcastle travelling all the way down to London.
Well, you would have to be contained in a London hotel. 20 teams in hotels around London. Where do you train? I mean...
No, I don't think that's not a go for me at all. That isn't a go for me at all. Absolutely
But
not.
some of the things Keith is saying are frightening.
They are frightening. And I do you know what? Every FA so far has been reluctant to make decisions. They keep, as I said to you, they keep pushing it. They keep pushing the ball back. They keep playing it back to the goalkeeper, and waiting for him to pick it up and then try and start again. And then when that deadline passes, they knock it back to the goalkeeper again, and then they start again. It's a bit like that at the moment. And I think it might be a case
Can the keeper pick it up?
No, he has to just control it.
All right, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, he has to just control it. Of course he can. But I think there's probably FAs all over the world, certainly all over Europe, that they're waiting for guidance from the official body. They're waiting on UEFA or FIFA coming in and saying, "Listen, guys, this is a decision we're making for the whole of football."
Well, if Keith's right, and let me tell you, there are a few people that I have known for a considerable time now that are as well connected as Keith. Let me say that. If he's right, if a month from now we're waiting for UEFA to say that's it for this season,
I think we are.
Then maybe we're 4 weeks from a decision that we're going to start rowing about the minute it's made.
Well, yes, because no one can make a decision that satisfies everybody.
Of course not.
I've said that, it's impossible. So someone, and if it happens in Scotland the way that I think they're talking about it, Celtic are awarded the title, Hearts are relegated, then there's 2 clubs that aren't going to be happy I can think of immediately. One's Rangers, one's Hearts.
Well, Hearts are bottom for a reason.
Yeah, but the season's not finished. It's what you say to me. You can't award Liverpool the title. Why not?
Well, in the interests of just getting this done and moving on, just let somebody make a decision somewhere.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
And then let's
Nobody wants to
start in September, if that's the date we're looking at, and say, right, go and put an asterisk by 1 or 2 decisions that were made, and you know.
It rumbles on. It rumbles on. And that's the worrying thing, is there's nobody with the authority seems to be prepared to stick his head above the parapet and say, we're doing this.
Somebody's going to have to, aren't they?
Why don't you suggest something?
Because, again, just to refer back to what Keith said, the bookmark of putting the Euros in for next summer, we have to be finished. Whatever we do now with this season and next, we all have to be finished in time to play that tournament in the summer of 2021.
I agreed. You see, that's why I'm against extending this season into September, into October, into November, I heard somebody say the other day, to get this season finished. No, I'm sorry, I don't think that's I don't think that works for me.
Right now, and again, Keith referenced it, with things the way they are in the UK at the moment, you might be lucky to start in November.
Then let's start a new season in November then.
That's been my point all along. And we reset the clock.
I don't know what you do. I don't know whether you reset the clock, Richard, or you just say, sorry, Aston Villa, you know, sorry, everybody else, Sheffield United, your thoughts of getting the Champions League, they've gone. Sorry, Aston Villa, sorry, Bournemouth, you're all relegated, you've got the title.
Yeah, but you can't do that because they haven't...
Well, they can. They can. And this is what might have to happen.
Isn't it good that
Rain's
we don't have
coming
to
on,
make
look at
that?
this rain.
It is pouring with rain.
It's raining.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Which does make a nice change.
It does make a nice change.
Anyway, plenty to think about as a result of that conversation. Hopefully tomorrow, if everything comes together the way that we're expecting, then we'll be in the company of a Premier League football manager.
Excellent.
And his thoughts on much of what's happening
Good.
around the game at the moment will be fascinating. In the meantime, thank you for your company. Stay safe, be responsible, social distance. Please, if you're watching on YouTube, that's a message to all of you in the UK. If you're watching on beIN Sports, I like to think, Andy, in our part of the world, that message has resonated and people are being responsible. See you tomorrow.